The smell of roasted chicken told me right away what type of night it would be when I arrived at my folks' house. The air was infused with cinnamon, which clashed with the strong scent of reminiscence and possibly bitter resentment. It clung to the walls like a shadow, even though I had outgrown the house. The mahogany hadn't altered. The ancient chandelier hung like a relic from another era. The floors were still polished. The same framed family pictures adorned the walls where I used to belong, but I wasn't actually a member of this family anymore. As I moved deeper inside, I tightened my fingers around the handles of the present bag I was holding, realizing why I had come. As I walked to the dining room, I reminded myself, it's just my niece's birthday. But I could already hear him, laughing loudly, confidently, effortlessly, like he owned the place. Caleb, my brother, the man who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes, the golden child. He sat at the head of the table, grinning broadly like a king overlooking his realm. But it wasn't just him. My ex-wife, Sophia, was with him, draped over him like a pricey piece of silk, her fingers tracing absently in, circles on his forearm, a gesture I knew well. Mom used to do that to me. I froze. For just a moment, I thought I mattered. I thought I shouldn't be shocked. But the truth still struck me with a power I hadn't anticipated, and they weren't even trying to hide it. I inhaled sharply. Keeping my eyes forward, I steadied myself and walked past them, setting the present, bag on the table next to the others. My niece deserved this gift. She deserved to know that I was still thinking of her, even if the rest of the family had chosen their side. I tilted my head just enough to catch a glimpse. Sophia was spinning. The diamond bracelet I had given her years ago around her wrist. My jaw tightened. I had saved for months to buy that. I had thought it meant something. You'll always be a loser. Caleb raised his glass in a faux salute. The room burst into laughter. People who had once professed to love me, my mother, my father, my aunts, my uncles, had chosen their victor. And it wasn't me. This wasn't just about Caleb taking my wife. This wasn't about Sophia abandoning me. This was about control. I let out a slow, steady breath. The realization sank in. Caleb had been waging a silent war against me for years, and my family had let him win, without question. But I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. I forced my expression to remain unreadable. Then I turned on my heel and walked toward the door. Where are you going? My mother's voice was feigned with concern. I ignored her. Behind me, Sophia murmured something, and Caleb laughed smugly. They thought they had won. They thought nothing they said mattered anymore. They thought I was still the same man who had spent his life cleaning up Caleb's messes. The same man who was always expected to prioritize family, even when they never did the same for me. They were wrong. The icy night air hit me like a shock, reminding me of something I had forgotten for far too long. I was free. I dug into my pocket and pulled out my phone. A dozen unread messages, a missed call from my mother. I ignored them. Instead, I opened my texts. I sent a brief message to the event planner. Cancel everything. Don't make any payments. Then I clicked send, and just like that, their idyllic evening was about to fall apart. They laughed in my face. They mocked me, humiliated me, while celebrating. I imagined the moment the caterers would leave. The moment the cake decorator would stop working. The moment the event staff would inform my parents that nothing had been paid for. I grinned, because I knew Caleb. I knew how he wasted money he didn't have. I knew he had been counting on me to foot the bill. Not this time. After that, I put my phone away. For 2 whole days. 2 days of peace. No arrogant taunts. No self-righteous lectures from my father. No guilt-tripping texts from my mother. And, best of all, silence from Caleb. It had never felt better. For the first time in years, I focused on myself. I slept in. I cooked real meals instead of grabbing whatever was convenient. I even went for my first jog. It was freeing. But on the third day, curiosity got the better of me. I turned my phone back on. The screen lit up. 7 missed calls. 15 voicemails. 82 unread messages. I exhaled sharply, my lips curling into a sneer. The texts were fallout. Mom, I don't see why you're reacting this way. Dad, Caleb didn't mean it. Caleb, be fair. Sophia, are you seriously acting like this? Grow up. You know how family works. Aunt Linda, you should be grateful we even let you come. You're so dramatic. That one made me laugh. Grateful? Grateful for what? For being humiliated? For watching my ex-wife draped over my brother while my parents cheered them on? I scrolled past the desperate attempts at control. They expected me to roll over and take it, like I always had, but I had changed. And then, a message caught my eye. Rachel, Caleb's ex-wife. The woman he had thrown aside like an old pair of shoes the second he set his sights on Sophia. Rachel, I'm sorry. I didn't agree with what happened. Please call me when you can. I stared at the message. Rachel had never spoken up before on paper. She had been the perfect wife, loyal, silent, never questioning Caleb, never resisting him, but he had discarded her, just like he had discarded me. I hesitated. Then, after a brief pause, I typed back. Me. What's going on? She responded almost immediately. Rachel. Can we talk? I exhaled. I wasn't sure what she wanted. Closure? A warning? Still, my curiosity won out. I hit the call button. The line barely rang once before she picked up. Hey, she said nervously. I stayed silent, waiting. Then, with a deep breath, she spoke the words I never expected to hear. I finally see it now. I was just too blind to notice before. Everything Caleb did to you, he's doing to me. I should not have left you, she added. I see that now. You were a good person. She was second-guessing her choices, and it felt wonderful. I arched an eyebrow. And you're telling me this because... She sighed. Husband Caleb Hune isn't who I thought he was. I'm not sure, but I simply thought we might be able to chat. I laughed. What about the way you embarrassed me, Sophia? Marching around with my brother while my parents applauded you? I didn't. I laughed without amusement. You did. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. And you're getting exactly what you sowed. For the first time, there was stillness. On the line, she had no control over me. What would you do then? I asked. I don't know, she acknowledged. I nearly chuckled as I added, I think you already know the answer to that, Sophia. She exhaled slowly in defeat. Yes, I do. So after hanging up, I sat there for a while, looking at my phone. Because for the first time in years, the power had shifted. I was in charge, and I had no plans to relinquish that. 3 days went by, and for the first time in a long time, I was at peace. But the consequences of my choice to cut off contact with Caleb spread like wildfire. The GoFundMe page was a complete bust, very few donations. And those who did donate, they gave just enough to mock him, $5 here, $1 there, just to let him know they saw him begging but had no intention of helping. The harsh comments served as a reminder. The world wasn't as naive as he had believed. His money was in ruins, and Sophia was struggling. Rachel had informed me that things between Caleb and Sophia were falling apart. She had expected a life of luxury, easy money, lavish getaways, but all she got was a man who spent recklessly and assumed someone else would clean up his mess. Sophia had been silent since our last talk, but I wasn't foolish. She was likely planning her next move. And Caleb was in a critical situation, so when my doorbell rang at exactly 7:00 p.m., I already knew who it was. I checked the peephole and got up slowly, letting him wait before I opened the door. Caleb stood there, hands stuffed in his pockets, trying to appear casual. But I could see the tension in his jaw, the slight shift in his weight from foot to foot. Leaning against the doorframe, I murmured, "This is unexpected." Caleb smirked. "Come on, man. Are you really going to do this?" I echoed his words mockingly. "Do this? You show up at my place, after everything, and think I'm the one making things strange?" He rolled his shoulders back and exhaled sharply. Crossed my arms. "Say what you came to say, Caleb." He hesitated, then sighed. "Look, man, we both know this is over. The whole family is pissed. Sophia's going crazy. Mom won't stop." I raised an eyebrow. "And that's my problem because—" "It's not about blame," he insisted. "It's time to move on. I get that you're upset, but holding on to resentment like this, it's beneath you." I laughed. A deep, humorless chuckle. "You think this is a grudge?" His expression tightened. "You're making a point, okay. But we're family at the end of the day." I tilted my head. "The same family who watched as you humiliated me? The same family who sat there laughing while you took my wife and never once defended me?" Caleb let out a harsh sigh, obviously trying to control his temper. "All right, I get that you're upset, but—" I stepped closer. "I was upset. Now? Now! I'm just watching you deal with the fallout of your own choices." His nostrils flared. "You're just going to sit back and watch everything fall apart?" I nearly laughed again. "What do you want, Caleb?" He hesitated. "I need a loan." I scoffed. "You want my money?" He shook his head. "It's not like that." "Sounds exactly like that," I said, my tone firm. "It's just a short-term setback," he argued. "I'll pay you back, I swear." "This is your life, Caleb," I said coldly. "You built it. Now live in it." His hands balled into fists. "So you're just gonna let me drown?" "You're not drowning, Caleb. You're finally facing the consequences of your own actions." For the first time in his life, he was silent. No excuses. No arrogance. "You don't understand," he whispered, his voice hollow. I stepped forward. "Oh, I understand perfectly. You took everything from me, thinking it would make you happy. But it didn't. And now? Now you're just another man who gambled and lost." His jaw clenched. "You're making a mistake." I shook my head. "No, Caleb. For the first time, I finally stopped making them." He stood there, waiting, maybe hoping I'd change my mind. But I didn't. I moved aside and opened the door. Caleb walked out stiffly, turning back one last time. "One day you'll regret this." I met his eyes, unwavering. "No, I won't." And I shut the door. For the first time in years, I felt weightless. The next day, I expected Caleb's call. When it didn't come, I knew exactly what he would do next: run to our parents. Sure enough, before noon, my phone rang. "Mom."